Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Conversations at the Danforth Center. My name is Tim Rogers, and I'm the Chair Emeritus of the Danforth Center Friends Committee. So whether you're joining us in person or virtually, whether this is your first time or your 40th, we're so glad you could all be a part of tonight's event. The Danforth Center Conversation Series is an opportunity to learn more about the work of the Danforth Center and our many partners. And how we're changing the world for the better. And tonight we have a very special conversation in store for you all. You'll learn about how 3 institutions came together to create a groundbreaking new partnership in East St. Louis that will educate and empower students and transform our region. We're joined tonight by the leaders of those institutions. First, Dr. Jim Carrington, the President and CEO of the Danforth Center. Dr. Robert Jones, Chancellor of the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, 4-time Olympic gold medalist, and I can tell you, much prouder to be the founder of the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation. And our moderator this evening, Sarah Fensky, who is the executive editor of Euclid Media Group. Before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone who made tonight's program possible. Not everyone, I shouldn't say that. Thanks to the Friends Committee for their dedication to the series, and especially thanks to our media sponsor, HEC Media. They've been helping us for probably a dozen years at this point. You can watch the recording of tonight's event on HEC TV beginning September 4th at 5 p.m. and continuing on Saturdays and Sundays throughout the rest of the year. I'd like to encourage you to visit danforthcenter.org to learn more about the work of center scientists and our various contributing groups. We have a great Young Friends organization, for example, and right now they're hosting the Grow Challenge, which runs through September 23rd. This is a virtual fundraiser that supports the Danforth Center's most crucial initiatives, and I hope you'll join us. And with that, I'll now turn it over to our moderator, Sarah Fensky.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So tonight we're going to be talking quite a bit about the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Food, Agricultural, and Nutrition Center in East St. Louis. This is a really exciting project that everybody here plays an important part in. But I think before we get to that, I think we need to take a step back into the past. Because to understand the work that's being done, we have to start with Jackie Joyner-Kersee, and we have to start with your childhood growing up in East St. Louis, because this is what spurs the work that you do today. Tell us about this. Take us back to the 1960s, early 1970s. Tell me you remember this. What was it like growing up in East St. Louis?
I was born in '60.
To be clear.
Right. So, growing up in East St. Louis with a family, young teenage mom and dad, older brother, and 2 younger sisters, and we lived in my great-grandmother's home, and my mother and father instilled in us a commitment to hard work, setting goals, and we couldn't really worry about what we didn't have, because at times we didn't have food to eat. We didn't have warm shelter, but we had a lot of love in our home, and really a lot of faith and trust. And so, as a young girl and going to a community center, being exposed to the fun of athletics, and not knowing that that would afford me the opportunity eventually to pick my school of choice and be able to travel the world and to meet people from all walks of life. But East St. Louis, for me, has always and will be home. And people talk about a food desert. Yes, we didn't have a grocery store we could walk to. We had the confectionery, and there was one local grocery store, but it was, for us, it was far away because my sisters and myself, you know, have to carry them bags, so they're gonna carry one block, you're gonna carry the next block, and the next block. Teamwork, working together. But when I think about it all and being able to have a dream and set goals, and having people to see the potential in me and believe in me to allow me to see my dreams become a reality, which have driven me back to the community to give back. Because at that time, volunteer was a big word, and volunteers made a difference. You know, when my family could not afford for me to go or have the right shoes or the right clothes, those volunteers made a difference. And so that stayed with me. And that was the beginning of me knowing at the age of 10 about the value of people's time and respecting people's time and people showing up, and all you have to do is be there and be there on time. And that was the beginning, and go off to school, and unfortunately, I lose my mother to the worst form of meningitis, and come back home and want to go to a center where people had poured into me, and that center had padlocks on the door, and I just started thinking, where do the young people go? So at the age of 18, I knew, and it was my hope one day to open up that center, because it had impact on my life and connecting me, you know, to my extended family, the senior citizens that were in the center. We did the Meals on Wheels program, the arts and crafts. Catherine Dunham, who had grew up in the community, and we would do dance technique. I learned to strategize at the center, learned to play sports, learned to just do a lot of things that really I didn't know at that time had impact on my life, but it did. And the least I could do was to come back and give back of my time. So that was not quite the 60, but it was the beginning.
Close enough.
So that community center, I mean, that was huge. And you mentioned that at one point you were there and it was padlocked. Somebody closed down this community center that had served you as a kid.
Yeah, you know, because a lot of times people invest in communities, and for whatever reasons, you know, different things happen, and they take away those services. And those services are just invaluable to the community. And so the resources weren't there to continue to have the doors open. And so as a youngster, I'm thinking, oh, I can open this back up, you know. I run, jump, throw, could do what I want to do on the field, but then I didn't know you needed money to do that. So it was a long process. You know, I had to learn a little bit. You know, they just don't open the doors. You know, you find out there are bills need to be paid, and so, but it stayed with me for a very long time.
So that really informed your vision for, originally when you started the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation, that idea of the community center.
Yeah, it informed my vision, but at the time I realized that I didn't need a building to help people. So I worked with my church, Girls Inc. at the time, and my worked with the Honor Society, the History Club, my elementary school, and just try to find ways to engage young people, share what I had learned when I went out to California, came back, and that was the beginning. And then that was 1988. Mm-hmm. And then 96, we were able to break ground on the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Center as it is today, and open in 2000. And then in 2008, we had some challenging times. You know, realized that it takes more than just foundations and government grants to keep you going. And so our pie looked like we were 90% foundations and corporation and 4% individual giving. We revamped our board, changed everything, and now we're like 96% individual giving, you know, and with great leadership, you know, and I would be remiss not to mention, I have a few of my board members here. Mark Mestermacher, who sits on our board, his wife Carol. It's truly been just a blessing to be in you guys' present, and the work and the commitment you have given to the community of East St. Louis and beyond. Michelle Sherrod, our board president, sits here, and Ernest Smiley, who is also on our board, and Mark Fryer, who is our COO, and so, and Amy Funk, who is our director of the JJK FAN. It is a team effort, you know, in trying to do this work, and talking about the foundation itself We provide transportation. We pick students up from school, bring them to the center. They go through our JJK Winning in Life. It's a curriculum based off of my autobiography. There's 14 different principles. And still, we know the value of nutrition and how important that was to me. I'm an asthmatic and didn't know that I was allergic to certain things that could have taken my life because of the lack of knowledge. And coming, partnering with U of I as well as Danforth on the Agricultural Innovation Center around food and nutrition. And early on, around 2015, I believe it was, Mark Show, who isn't here, and Maurice Foxworth, and also a young guy by the name of Mike Sams. We had leased land in North St. Louis and grew corn, soybeans, radish, and you see all these corn going up in the community, and we really stress to the families in the community that what you see is corn and what we see is opportunity, and this is what we must introduce to our young people, the opportunity in the plant science. Not just the food, but also if you want to do cosmetics, if you want to do t-shirts, all this is part of ag. And ag is in athletics and everything that I do. So why not team up with people who have the same passion, same vision, and trying to really see this innovation center really be a destination place in the community of East St. Louis. And I thank all of you for being here because a lot of times people don't come visit the community of East St. Louis. And being partners with Danforth, it's in the state of Missouri that they took a chance investing in us, coming across that river and investing in our young people and trying to make a difference. And as we would talk about pathways and career ways, so with U of I, this is just the beginning.
So Chancellor Jones, that idea of agriculture, that idea of all the things that you can do once you learn about plants and plant science, this is something that is deeply ingrained and woven throughout your life story. As you heard Jackie talk a bit about, her childhood and the role the community center played for her, you're the son of sharecroppers. You grew up in rural Georgia. Mm-hmm. Do you identify with some of what she was talking about just, that role of the community?
Well, I very much identify with everything that Jackie has said and everything that she's done to create this innovation center that's all about uplifting the next generations of students from low socioeconomic background and providing an opportunity for them to better understand that there are all kinds of ways you can pursue careers and that agriculture, and here I sit as the son of a sharecropper. And people often ask me, Hyundai, why did you pursue agriculture? What's wrong with you? Don't you remember the suffering of slavery and Jim Crow? And I said, yeah, I remember all of that. But let me tell you one thing. I was driven by the passion. Ever since I was 9 years old, the only thing I've ever planned and executed on systematically in my life, a lot has happened along the way that I didn't plan, was to be a scientist and to be a university professor. I had a vocational ag teacher that called me professor when I was in the 9th grade, and I guess it stuck somewhere along the way. But my point is, Jackie's story is not all that different from my story. Hers happened in an urban environment, mine happened in the rural peanuts and cotton fields of southwestern Georgia and Georgia red clay. But one of the common factors is that we both saw something greater for ourselves than our current circumstances. And I am sitting here as a chancellor of one of the finest universities, not only in the country, but in the world. And it is truly a role of ILL. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Forgive me. I'm way outstripped. Forgive me, but I couldn't resist. I know I'm not going to be invited back again, but that's okay. But let me just say this. My point is that both of the things that Jack and I share in common is we want to see a different path for young people that look like us and don't look like us, but those that are similarly situated in terms of economic circumstances. We want to see a different path for them that perhaps their parents don't see, or maybe they don't see themselves, and it's not going to happen by happenstance. You got to be strategic and intentional about this. And one of the reasons I'm sitting here leading the University of Illinois is because more than 25 years ago, a president of another university in another state gave me the responsibility for forcing that university to think more strategically about its role as an engaged university with communities, underserved communities, to partner with all the assets in the community to find solutions to complex problems. That is what this partnership is all about. And it's a public-private partnership is the way that Mark and I were talking about it today. We have these public and private entities coming together with one common goal, and that is providing opportunity and educating and get people excited. Because I fundamentally believe that as Chancellor of the University of Illinois, I have a responsibility to uplift the next generations of students and provide more opportunities for them, because I fundamentally believe that educating more students and doing it better is the best investment that any society can make in its citizenry. We can't afford to leave any segment of our society behind, and that's why I can tell you this project and another one that I'm working on in Chicago called Hope Chicago are the most important, exciting things I've been involved in 43 years of higher education. And I'm very serious about that. I hope I answered your question.
You did answer my question. So look, now that we know that this is one of the most exciting projects in the many, many projects you have, I'd like to take a step back and talk about how we got to this point, that these three people, these three entities all came together. Dr. Jim Carrington, I'm wondering if you can tell us what brought this super group together in the first place?
I will.
Thank you.
But you have to call me Jim.
Jim.
You know, I've been listening to Jackie and the Chancellor, and I don't have answers that are going to match up to theirs. I've been thinking about what am I going to say? Do I pass? But this came about from our perspective, and this is not our baby. This is a true collaboration. But this came about, at least our engagement, with some conversations, towards beginning of 2020. And we had the very good fortune of having someone that most of you know or have heard, Chris Callis-Duell, the Driemeyer Director of Education Research and Outreach, spearhead some initial conversations with Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation and the University of Illinois, along with Amy Funk in the front row here, who is directing the JJK FAN program. When I became aware of these conversations, this was a kind of a turning point for us, because much of the work that we've been doing in STEM education and outreach and connecting to the community, to schools and so forth, was good, it was productive, and we made impact. But this was a turning point where we had an opportunity to take what we had just formulated in our strategic plan. What can we do uniquely as the Danforth Center to reach students and reach individuals in the community, primarily the St. Louis community? What can we do uniquely that wasn't being done by other people? What we do is research. We're all about research. But we're also here to deliver on a vision that Bill Danforth created or set forth for us and everyone associated with the Danforth Center, and that's make an impact in St. Louis. And a big part of the way we're implementing that, and our strategic plan reflects this, is to connect in ways that elevate underserved parts of the community through giving opportunities for engagement with scientists, engagement in real research, so-called authentic research experiences, we call them AREs, and to connect with organizations that themselves have unique access and unique positions with communities that need to be served. You're not going to find anyone better than Jackie, well positioned in that position, and we're not going to find a better partner than the University of Illinois. So from our perspective, we had something unique to offer that we're so excited to be a part of.
So Chancellor Jones, I think that almost begs the question. There's so many universities in the St. Louis area. Mm-hmm. You guys are there in Urbana-Champaign. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to invest in St. Louis, to be in East St. Louis and a part of this community?
Well, first of all, last time I checked, it was in Illinois, right? Last time I checked. You know.
It's true.
But the answer to your question is one that I think a lot of people forget about. The University of Illinois is the largest university in the state of Illinois, public or private. We educate the vast majority of undergraduate students in the state, and we are one of the original 34 land-grant universities. So this university has an obligation and a commitment to serve the public good. The land-grant mission goes back hundreds of years, and originally it was around educating the masses, the underserved population that couldn't get into Princeton or Yale or Harvard. And the contemporary version of that mission is this public engagement component, where we feel a strong sense of obligation. How can we leverage our resources in partnership with underserved communities to not come into the old model? The old model used to be, well, I'm from the university and I'm here to solve your problem because I have all the knowledge. I'm sorry, that pyramid has been turned on its head. We're from the university and we want to be seen as an equal partner to come into communities like East St. Louis and leverage the knowledge that's already present in the community to find solutions to complex problems. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in particular, as a land-grant university, the only land-grant university in the state of Illinois, I have an obligation to be in East St. Louis just as much as I have an obligation to be in the south side of Chicago.
So Jackie, you have these two big partners. I mean, these are like two entities that have so much going on and so much intellectual power and so much capacity. Tell us how this looks like on the ground then in East St. Louis at the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation. How are you putting them to work for you?
Oh. It's not that we're putting them to work. But everything that we talk about is exposure. And so being able to expose our young people to pathways to college and then careers, understanding what is the Danforth Foundation, you know, and having people that are boots on the ground, you know, Amy leading that, and but through research and knowledge, education is everything. And so for us, it's a great partnership in doing what we do best, what we bring to the table, you know, from the community side, you know, from the education side, and then also from the research side. Pulling all these tools together, this partnership, as we said earlier, that is unique, you know, and see what we can do together. And it's going to take more than us. It's going to take we and you to help us on this journey, because it is going to be a long process, and we know that and understand that. And so that's all I can say about it. Anybody want to add?
So Jim, these authentic research experiences you referred to, tell us how this works, how this is going to work. I mean, you're there with these kids in Jackie's program. They're getting to assist real scientists.
Yes. So if you talk with Chris or Amy, people who are real experts about education, what you'll learn is there are certain things that really matter to get students engaged in STEM fields. scientific fields like plant science. You can put them in classrooms and lecture at them, and Chancellor and I have done that probably more than we want to think about. And let's just say it has mixed impact on the students. But we know if we can take a student, especially a young student, and put them in an environment where they can experience what inquiry is about, what is scientific research, and how they can themselves participate in that, and how they can be a scientist. If they can live that experience, in the case of working with the Danforth Center or through JJK FAN or at the university, you find mentors, might be a professor, might be a graduate student, who you work with. And it actually doesn't take very long to associate yourself as someone who has what before sounded like unreachable skills, or it was in an unreachable profession. And so the authentic research experience is really the crux of much of what we're focusing on in our STEM and our outreach. The challenge is, how do we scale it up? Because if we know something works really well, let's manufacture that and expose everyone to it. The problem is it's a bit labor intensive. It takes a lot of people, it takes time. So how do we scale this up? And this is where, and how do you scale it up with people that you really want to reach, ones that will not have opportunities, perhaps, but for the experience that you might be able to offer them. This is where Jackie and the foundation are critical, because you have a pipeline. You have access to students, and you have a unique platform that attracts. There's challenges, but it's a platform that we can partner with. So we can take an authentic research experience concept, build it into the platform that Jackie's built through the foundation, and now instead of getting a couple students exposed, we can get a couple dozen exposed. You know, long term, perhaps there are partners outside of St. Louis where we might be able to do the same thing. And that's going to be exciting to see how much we can scale up this idea of an authentic research experience that we know really makes a difference.
And Chancellor Jones, for you then, what do you see as the university's role there on the ground? Are you also assisting and facilitating in this research and the hands-on stuff?
Well, we want to be involved in every aspect of this big, bold idea where we have a comparative advantage as a world-class research university, a land-grant university, where we have assets that are really tailored to serve this kind of initiative. For example, as a land-grant university, we have one of the best extension operations, I think, in the country. We are currently used to, at one point in time, in every land-grant university around the country had this problem about 15 years ago, where the old model of having extension workers in every county really wasn't sustainable because of declining state support, et cetera. But we still have a very robust extension outreach and engagement activity with extension offices. I think we have 27 centers, but we have people located in every county. And one of the anchors of our work here is our extension operation, where some of you may be aware, not only being on the Danforth board, but I'm on the board of directors for the 4-H Council, which is the national board of directors. And they have a program called Positive Youth Development. That is tailor-made for what Jackie has built at her school. And so that is driven through 4-H and gets driven through Extension. Extension also has a lot of expertise around the issue of food and food security, and I was talking to Mark about this earlier today, is that one of the things that we have a lot of expertise in is how to help communities to understand. You can take $20 and go to a local, like I don't want to call the name because I don't want to get sued. The one of the little corner places that serve food, that sells food. Or you can go to another place that I know of that another gentleman sitting on the front row runs and spend that same $20 and buy nutritious food. And that $20 that you go to the convenience store, I'll use that term, will last you for a few days. But if you spend that $20 and buy some protein, some vegetables, fresh fruits, etc., Extension has a long history of using demonstration kitchens to educate communities. That's one of the value propositions that we bring to the table. It's about to help educate community, to help people understand that they can be self-sustaining, to help them understand the nutritional value and the health-related aspects that drive a lot of the health disparities in underserved communities because they have not been educated and trained about the long-term, short-term effects of having high sugar, high carbohydrate, high fat diets. And so that's only one example of what we bring to the table, but what is equally important, I have built, over the last 4 years, I have reconstituted what I think is one of the most critical aspects of our land grant mission, and that is an Office for Public Engagement. That is an office that is strategically and intentional to come in to projects, to communities like this, to projects like this, and to be the consolidation point for all the expertise that we have at our university, to bring it to bear on whatever problem the community says is important. Not what my academic faculty want to do because they're academically interested. I'm only interested in doing what the community thinks is important, and we have the capacity to do this. So it involves working on the ground with youth. It involves having opportunities to get students from East St. Louis somewhere to come up to Urbana-Champaign or through one of our extension offices. It becomes an effort to do that kind of the experiential learning that Jim talked about. We're very big on that. We have a summer employment program that really provides an opportunity for young people to understand and explore different careers. That's the kind of expertise that we offer, and we are distributed across the entire state in ways that allows us to do that in ways that most other universities, public or private, are not really structured to do. So this is at the absolute core of our longstanding extension, outreach, and engagement effort that we have reestablished. And we think this is going to be a very good opportunity for us to be a critical partner in deciding and helping to shape the short-term and long-term goals. And as I said, I'm very excited about this opportunity.
And Jackie, all of these things that are happening and being planned, I understand there's now a new facility where they're all going to be happening. Can you tell us about how you got this building and what the plans are? Because you're not just stopping with this building.
No. The building was donated to us, and right now we're housing JJK FAN, the foundation, Winning in Life, Lansdowne Up, and U of I Extension. They're on the ground right across from the center itself. But I just want to backtrack a little bit because I think it's very important for people to understand, what we do at the center. Mm-hmm. We use sports as a hook to get them in the door and expose our students to the things they don't think they need to be exposed to, i.e. making sure they all can read at grade level. So we have been very fortunate to have SIU Head Start. We able to build 10,000 square feet building to house, I think over 100 some tiny tots, and that was in 2015. And The other 10,000 was the wrestling wing. And just last year, we started the JJK Academy, because what we were learning from those students and families that were leaving Head Start, and when they were going into different school districts, they were falling off reading-wise. So our board, we came together and thought maybe we could open an academy. And so last fall, right, Labor Day, after Labor Day, we started with kindergarten and first grade. And then this year we were at the second grade. And that is the basics, like in athletics, the basics is run, jump, and throw. And the basics, to me, in education is reading and comprehension. And so being able to provide that platform, so when we start transitioning into talking about STEM and STEAM and ag education, our young people have to be able to read to fully understand what we're trying to do. So for us, that's the beginning as we continue to, work together in trying to make sure that we are really having a significant impact. And I believe in having a vested interest in the community and into the people versus the investment part is great, but it starts with a vested interest and understanding who we're working with and what we're doing and where we're trying to go. The end results would be there, but again, it's trusting the process, and the process is challenging at times, but know that anything worth having is worth fighting for and working hard every day. When someone is sleeping, you up trying to figure out what you need to do to make that difference.
Yeah. So you're there, and you're now getting into this space of education, and that's on top of all the athletics, the after-school stuff, the summer camp stuff, and then this goes back to this building. You need space to do all that.
Yes, we not only do we need space, but we need bodies, and a lot of times people see Jackie Joyner-Kersee, the athlete, but my mom told me I couldn't do athletics if I didn't have a great education, and people forget that part of it, and that component is very important to us. That's why we just use sports. We get the student athletes in it, or not student athletes, and they're not really good athletes either, because they did not make the school teams, but they come to our after-school program, and they think they're on the JJK team, they made the Olympic team. But anyway, but we nurture them with knowledge and trying to help them to level up and make sure that we're doing our part. And it's really, really a collaborative effort, having great staff, and it's challenging, and it's, but we love it, we do it, and again, having that vested interest, tracking our students and knowing exactly what's going on.
So this partnership is so exciting to hear about, and there's such good energy as you guys are all talking about what you're going to bring to it. Jim, what do you see as a big challenge that's ahead? I mean, we have such smart people. This is going to be this simple, right?
Challenges. Hey, if it was easy to do, it would already have been done.
Right.
The challenges, how do you answer this question? The big challenge is we have neglected communities. We have enormous human potential that is at risk of being lost. Listening to the childhood stories from Jackie and the Chancellor, we have to hear these stories frequently, because I grew up in a much more I thought it was a pretty average, ordinary, boring family existence, but pretty much had everything I needed. Mm-hmm. I didn't worry about food. I didn't worry about getting to school safely or what I was going to do after school. So the big challenge is, how do we, capture is not the right word. How do we do the right thing? And that's give so much human potential an opportunity to thrive. So that's really the big challenge. I think Jackie would say, I don't know why I'm saying that. You're here, you can say whatever you want. But as much as she's doing, she can't do it all. Together, we might be able to do a little bit more. But the challenge is much bigger than JJK FAN. It's how can we use this to capture as much of that potential that is at risk of being lost. And let me say one other thing. I don't think you appreciate what goes on at the foundation, at the JJK Foundation. I had the good fortune of learning this with a visit out there. She's not just the name or the initials on the building. She's there every day. She's there early and she's there late. She's there every day. I've told this story a number of times. You were there, you can vouch for it. Jackie took me and a group of others on a tour of the center. It's an amazing facility. And we went into one of these classrooms. I guess they were kindergartners. If you remember this, we opened the door. It was behind the students. The teacher was in the front. And we walked in. And as soon as those 25 or so kids saw who was coming in, not me, they all jumped out of their seats, started yelling, and ran to the back and swarmed her. And I was caught up in that swarm as well. I didn't know what was going on. Is this normal? But what that was an illustration of what she means to the community that she's serving so well. It's about the kids. It's about reaching the potential, reaching the human, that human resource in East St. Louis that don't even want to think about if they didn't have the JJK Center to go to. But appreciate that she's not just the name, she's not just the symbol, she's not just the organizer, she's there in the trenches every day.
So I want to encourage you, if you've been listening to this conversation and you find yourself thinking about what we've been talking about, we are willing and able to take your questions. If you sort of put those up in the air, we have people that are happy to take them. You can also tweet them. Oh, I see there's a question there. Wave it up in the air. And feel free to add more. We do have time where we can take some questions now. You can also get your questions up on Twitter. If you're a Twitter user, you can just tag at Danforth Center. Do I have that right? Yes? If you tag them on your tweet, then we will get that. It'll show up on this little iPad I have here, the marvels of technology, and we can share that with you. But as we're sort of contemplating, as we're sort of thinking about what comes next for this, Jackie, I'm wondering for you, there are so many challenges inherent in this work. What does success look like for you, looking down the road for this program and where you want to take it? What will that look like?
Wow. An innovation center with a commercial kitchen, because we have so many entrepreneurs and so many culinary people that look to get their food into different grocery stores, but if it's not from a commercial kitchen, then that's a barrier for them. And I just, I am one that I have a lot of faith. I'm very optimist. I'm an optimist, and I see it, but I know it's going to take time. And the challenges are a part of the process. And barriers going to always be there, but to have this amazing innovation center fully funded, you hear me? That's a part of it, you know? And allow us to be able to expose our young people to, again, we talk about opportunities. I believe the impossible is probable, but being able to, the individuals who are wanting to go to school, but then also having a place where people that have the skills and school just not a part of what it is they want to do, that we can still help them with careers and just having a long-standing relationship, that this is the beginning, but it would be many more universities we work with. And so success is hard to define because you have to always continue to work hard. You know, yes, we got the building, that's a part of it, but the work is never done. It's just like in athletics. One gold medal, you go back, you gotta keep working. That's how I look at it.
Jackie, I'm not sure all of us can identify with that, but I do get your broader point. Chancellor Jones, I'm wondering if what Jackie said there, if that was something that resonated for you.
It absolutely resonated with me because, as Jackie said, the work is never done. The important thing is to make sure you have the infrastructure and you have the support to bring the vision to fruition. And it has to be done incrementally. You can't go out and boil the ocean and think you can solve and think it's going to be sustainable. So the biggest challenge we have is how to be thoughtful about how do you incrementally move this along so that it is sustainable over time. And in many ways, you can document the impact that it's having on young people, not only in the terms of those that pursue, whether it's education, formal education at universities. And I think this center could be one of the places where we're spending a lot of time at University of Illinois now thinking about what we need to do above and beyond just offering four-year degrees. The world has changed fundamentally, folks, and we're thinking about what is our role in upskilling and reskilling and providing badges and credentials to help drive the businesses and the need for educated workforce. Because when I hear CEOs of companies talking about they have to upskill or reskill 50% of their workforce in the next 5 years, and then 5 years after that, they're going to have to upskill and reskill them again. It fundamentally tells you that what it means to be educated is fundamentally changed forever in our society. I see Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation, the school, and FAN being a place where we have to address the most fundamental issues. And that is preparing young people with the skills to pursue whichever route they want to pursue in careers. Because when I walk into her school, I feel very comfortable that that is what I call a upstream strategy. Far too often, we spend all of our time talking about downstream solutions. When I go to the legislature and get beat up because I don't have enough African Americans or Latino students on par with their population in the state of Illinois, they're forgetting that this has to start early childhood. Because we know if you're not reading by third grade and you can't do math by fourth grade, I can tell you, you're going to be part of an institution, but it's not going to be one that we want our young people to be part of. Those are just the facts, folks. And what I get so excited about, and my vision is that what we're doing and what Jackie is doing and what we're trying to support is these really critically important upstream solutions that's going to make it easier for higher education and other education providers to be flexible and providing the workforce for the future. She's providing opportunity, she's providing hope, and a pathway for people to have a better lives than what they're having today. And so that's what I see, and that's critically important to me as the Chancellor of the University of Illinois, and it aligns very closely with our work. And one of the things we're going to do is to get one of my associates, he was the former associate dean of our College of Education, who's been helping me think differently about fundamental issue of teacher preparation. We've got to do a better job of preparing teachers, because I can tell you in the state of Illinois, I don't know about Missouri, it causes me great concern. When I look at the cliff that's going to occur starting in the next 3 to 4 years, where the number of graduates from high schools is going to drop off precipitously, particularly the number of black and brown students graduating from school is going to drop through the floor. And even more significant than that, the number that are college ready or ready for some education beyond high school is going to decline even more precipitously. So this notion of the work that's going on at the center is absolutely fundamental to making sure that we are not leaving a significant part of any particular group of people behind, because frankly, folks, in this world we live in today, we can't afford to. So this is not only an educational initiative, it's tied to health and health, eradication of health disparity, and it's tied to economic vitality. I don't care if you're talking about Illinois or Missouri. And for those of you who are sad about the little call out that I made a few moments ago, I want to know you to know I spent the 3 of the best years of my life 127 miles from here in Columbia, Missouri, where I received my PhD degree. All right, equal time.
I have a question from an audience member. This is for Jim. In what ways will the Jackie Joyner-Kersee FAN Center, that's the Food, Agricultural, and Nutrition Center, be integrated with the region's innovation system? Things like 39 North, Cortex, BioSTL. Do you see potential there?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole idea is to integrate students in an environment, whether we create the environment at the JJK Center or provide the opportunity in an environment like the Danforth Center or a University of Illinois facility, is provide an environment that people can get experiences that causes a switch. And if we can get those switches to fire, we have hope of locking something in that will last in that individual. I forgot what the question was. I don't know if there's a punchline or not.
They wanted to know if there were ways that the FAN Center would be integrated with the
That's
innovation.
right. So if you look at the Danforth Center, we're part of an innovation community out here called 39 North. Mm-hmm. If we can get a flow of students coming out here as one of those environments, we can expose students to people in a company that are doing things similar to what the scientists here are doing. And they can associate, well, if I like what they're doing at the Danforth Center and I like being a plant scientist, they will meet people from companies and say, well, I could start a company. I could do what you did, or I could be a director of research at a company. And the stronger the innovation community is, or the stronger, the deeper the environment, the deeper the experience in the environment is, that's critical. So what happens around the Danforth Center, and more broadly in St. Louis, through the work of BioSTL and Don Rubin and Sam Fiorello down in Cortex and what's happening downtown, we all work together pretty much for the same reason. It's to provide these densities of experiences, whether they be experiences that help a startup get moving, or experiences that enrich a student or trainees. I was just on a call this morning with Jeff Pittman from the St. Louis Community College. They're doing phenomenal work providing these experiential opportunities. And we're fortunate that one of those opportunities is here on the Danforth Center campus, that we're trying to figure out how to connect JJK students and those who go through the JJK FAN program. How can we connect them to the biotechnician training program that's here. So it's all about these environments where people have opportunities and where they can flourish.
So I'm going to squeeze in one last question here. And Jackie, you're going to have to work with me because I'm not supposed to squeeze in one more, but I'm going to do it. What are some direct ways that people can get involved with this program? There's people in the audience with unique careers in agriculture, technology, food, science. How can they share that expertise with the students that you're helping?
Or share something else.
Well, one, you come over and visit, learn more about what we're doing, and allowing us to be exposed to your companies or your organizations, share knowledge, and be intentional. And we don't have a website yet, right?
Stay tuned for the website.
Yeah.
But you welcome those visits if people want to come see for themselves.
Welcome to visit, and you get a personal tour, from yours truly. and I think opportunities for our students when it comes to internships. And a lot of our students might not even have an interest in college or an interest in science or either technology, but when they expose, because several of them came over to Danforth, during the summer, and a light switch went on. Now our students that are not of age that can do an internship, they are knocking what it's going to take for them to be able to have one of the internships to come over. So again, that type of exposure to really get their minds to think differently, because even when it came to food or we have a greenhouse in the park, and Grace, who is from U of I, worked with the extension. Our students plant, and Andrew, aquaponics, hydroponics, and then when they had first with zucchini, they're like, oh, I don't eat that. And then all of a sudden, because they didn't even know what it was, and now they look forward to having zucchini sticks and the different things that you can just expose them to. And really, when you talk about the nutritional value and trying to change a behavior when we know our children are not the ones who are serving the food at home. So finding ways to continue to engage our parents, even with Head Start, we have the financial literacy with those parents that come through. And so I think there are plenty of opportunities and ways that you might have suggestions, in learning more about us and trying to see win-win. I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about coaching and mentoring, whereas like in athletics, the coach gets you ready, the mentoring and the mentor give them inspiration, what could be. So being able to coach them up so they can become a mentee and then see a mentor doing something that they didn't even know they could do.
Well, so I think we've all learned there's a lot of things we can do. It all starts with that visit. I want to encourage people to go out and see this for themselves. And I want to thank our panel for being here tonight. I feel like I learned so much from them, and it's been such an honor. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, thank you so much. And also, of course, thank you to Chancellor Robert Jones and to Dr. Jim Carrington. Thank you so much. Thank you. Great job. It was a fascinating conversation about the future of science education and community empowerment in East St. Louis. And what these three institutions have set out to accomplish together is truly remarkable. It could serve as a model of cooperation to benefit society. And once again, I want to say thank you to our speakers and to the Friends community, HEC Media, and to all of you for being here with us tonight, including those of you watching at home on the live stream. I'm Sarah Fensky. I'm the executive editor of Euclid Media, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Good night.